The Spin-off Podcast Network.
This is Kiwi is back for a brand new season with more inspiring kōrero from special guests including rugby player, father and role model TJ Perenara.
My family bring me joy. Rugby brings me joy too, but it's not the same joy as my family brings me.
And global dancer and choreographer Kirsten Dodgen.
For some reason, people think I'm very intimidating.
Listen to the new season of This is Kiwi, brought to you by the Spin-off Podcast Network in collaboration with KiwiBank. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Are you curious about how business can be better? I'm Simon Pound, and I host Business is Boring, a podcast where I kōrero with some of the most interesting people in entrepreneurship, commerce, and making things happen. Tune in to Business is Boring every Tuesday, brought to you by the Spin-off Podcast Network in partnership with Spark Business Lab.
Welcome to a very special, very unusual edition of, what's the Treasure Island fishing called? The real recap of treasures. Jane is not here today, so it's just myself and Duncan Greive holding down the fort. How you doing?
Kia ora, Alex. I'm surviving. I'm kind of equal parts excited and exhilarated for this edition of the podcast.
As am I. I'm sort of getting... We are facing a true chaos pod now. Producer is glitching out. I haven't had anything to eat today. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it is. We're sort of... I think there's some kind of contagion happening with the joyous collapse of Facebook and all its associated entities. It seems to be spreading. We can only hope that this is the end of all of this.
Do you think that without Jane here, I'm trying to draw a Treasure Island parallel. Are we Candy and Buck?
We're definitely Candy and Buck.
It's definitely concerning, just kind of shambling along. So we're here today to talk about week 5, I think, of Celebrity Treasure Island. Great week.
I think best week to date. I couldn't tell. In the early weeks, I was trying to figure out if I was trying to will myself into believing that this was a great show, and at times I was getting annoyed with it. But it feels like it's every week the aspects that were sort of a little, not quite so good have just got really strong. And the other, like, it's just getting proper tactical and subterfuge and layered, and it's just so fun to watch.
And the pirates. The pirates are afoot. I feel like I was really into and really coveting every item in the pirate market. I just overcome with the need to purchase that delicious looking pizza. So this was the start of episode 13. They finally got to spend their pirate gold, which they've been kind of collecting through various challenges. And I loved the way it kind of showed who was willing to put in a little bit to help someone else or to get the clues, or who was just going to go rogue and buy a random pizza, which I respected.
And who was going to get sort of irresponsibly and unreasonably angry with someone for buying a random pizza as well?
For $1 pirate dollar.
Well, especially when, by the way, you just let Edna do the, buy a clue for three pirate gold when you're having some the economy of the pirate market is just completely out of control. There is no logic to it. It's just, it's amazing. I feel like you could give it to sort of some Stanford psychology experts or economists, and they could study this for years without ever really understanding what was going on.
I did respect Lana. I feel like at the start she was driving up the price of the first piece of parchment, and it reminded me a lot of our old friend on The Apprentice when he was fucking with everyone during that auction. I thought it was really, really cool.
It was extremely good. She knew that they were in it to win it, and they did not care the price. It was It was beautiful.
Did anything else of note happen in the pirate market? They got a mystery clue. Katipo paid for, I don't know how much they paid for it, but it ended up being $5,000 for their chosen charity, which Anna got, which I thought was quite nice.
That was sweet.
It's sort of tense, because it's like ultimately you want clues to the big treasure. But if you just, I guess it's fine for her.
I think it's all fine. My favourite part was when the pizza came up for auction, Buck saying, enjoying the beans and rice very much. Like, Buck has gone from being just this, like, grouchy curmudgeon who contributes nothing to the show to being the absolute light of every scene he's in. It's a really shocking transformation.
Grape throwing legend. Grape throwing and catching in the mouth legend. And huge Tim Tam stan. I mean, I can already feel Jane going, you're jumping around. But whenever it happened when they won all those ice cold Tams, Buck, like, making chat, which I'm sure they probably just had to do for, like, you know, sponsor obligations, but him going, what's your favourite flavour? mine's caramel. Just simply divine.
Yeah, he's a delight.
Captain's vote happened.
Yes.
I don't remember.
Richie really wanted to be remade captain, but quite aggressively. He's just quite unpleasant, as old Richie, and I love it for the TV, but it really, it's definitely something.
Something that I discovered this week, which I am able to access because I screenshot it, is that Richie has a really weird Instagram account. It was brought to my attention. His sort of mindset marketing thing is all very unclear, and there's sort of a photo of him wearing a cheese cutter with just the text, with network marketing, you get to dream again. And that's kind of it. Like, there's not quite enough info for me. And then the caption is another way to earn while you sleep, ... No link, no nothing. I just find it really, really fascinating.
And network marketing, like, I could be wrong, but it vibes a lot like I just watched LuLaRich, which I loved. It's a documentary about a leggings company in America that turned out to be like a real classic pyramid scheme. Network marketing has an awful...
Jane talked about it on the pod last week.
it just has an awful stench of the pyramid shape about it. Which is cool.
Just allegedly honest opinion, all of that.
Well, I mean, I think it's fine because what he seems to be advocating for is the concept of pyramid schemes, but not any specific one, without the link or the name or anything.
There was another quite interesting one that had a child wrapped in an American flag, and it says, our head office in the USA has an amazing offer of a free leg up to the business there. Let me know if you're keen to know more. I've just got a lot of questions, you know? I've got a lot of questions.
It's really, really amazing. It's like, we've just discovered this. Because, I mean, a former Kiwis league captain should be like a national figure. But somehow he's managed to sort of stay away in the shadows, getting just super weird, like wildly competitive, incredibly chiseled, selling you a lot of strange stuff that he won't tell you about, and just really, really quite profoundly disliking his teammates and not being shy about it at all. And it's driving Ange absolutely wild in a way that is so entertaining. I really, really enjoy her personality on the show. The further it develops, the more she's just world off, CTI on. That's the whole of the cosmos.
Totally. I also like how you can see the strengths of their careers, I guess, coming through. Like Ange and Chris being extremely observant, perceptive, like picking up on all these tiny little clues from people. Edna being like, I'm a boss, I don't fuck around, I don't give a shit, but missing all of the, the subtleties and the nuances of what's actually going on. And then like kind of the sports people just like, yeah, I'll throw a grape. I'll throw a grape and I'll catch it. It's just really, really cool. What did you think of the Captain's Challenge? It was another look into a box and tell a lie.
To be honest, this is the one I've watched the most of. Well, not all of, but the highest percentage completion. And I think Lance, I mean, we'll get to this, but Lance is actually playing the most extraordinary game. And Ange is very good at the game. And so this was the first one that was actually sort of interesting to watch because they both had sort of different styles and they were sort of figuring it out on the fly. And it clearly meant a massive amount to Ange. And that, like, because, she'd basically been openly doubted by Richie, it meant everything to her to kind of validate her own desire to be captain by winning. And, it's kind of fun. Still a stupid game.
A very stupid game, made even stupider by the inclusion of googly eyes on the objects. And one has to wonder, are they sending us a message?
That's so true.
Because I don't think googly eyes existed before the real pod. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure.
Yeah, and there's no upside to it. It just makes it weird. I think it must be a message to you, Alex Casey, former Warner Brothers employee.
I am glad to receive that message. Also, I think we have some breaking news, which I forgot to announce. We are getting our hands on some pirate gold.
No.
We're getting some pirate gold in our little Velcro wallets soon enough, so to speak.
That is amazing. I want that putia so badly.
It's been a while since the old museums had a donation.
She's getting quite cobwebby. She's been in lockdown, No.
And we're all waiting for, what is it? Step 3 of alert level 3 and a bit to go to the museum with a group of 25. That's what we're all dying for.
That's absolutely right. We haven't been able to get our customers through. Cobwebs everywhere. Just generally down on our luck. No wage subsidy on account of being purely staffed by volunteers.
Yeah, it's charity, really. But yeah, that's very exciting. We'll keep you abreast of that developing story. Out of that Captain's Challenge, they made the huge move and Katipo stole Chris Parker. Huge.
Brutal as well. Like, this is where I think that I don't know. You also, like, it's just you can feel it switching from, like, a fun, silly thing that everyone's doing to, like, a thing that people actually want to win. And I think that was the moment when it flipped over to being more of the winning thing than the fun thing, which is beautiful. But obviously, like, Chris is properly upset. He does not like it, and I get it.
Totally. And you saw him kind of, I think it was the following episode, sort of start to unravel a bit and talk about all the pressure that he feels to be everything for everyone, and that, he got chosen solely because he's like the most charismatic man in the world, the most likable, like, team player. Ange talked about she just wanted the Chris Parker effect on her team, and I imagine that must be quite stressful if you're not feeling up for it to kind of turn that on all the time.
And I think that was one. I mean, we're skipping ahead of it. Sorry, Jane. But watching him, like, sort of, he was like revealing some stuff. He was a little bit having fun with it, but he was also like very genuinely, like, seemingly, it was getting to him, and that was like extremely raw and real for what is fundamentally a massively silly show to actually just have something like that pop up in it. It also shows just how bad the juju is on Katipo when, like, they're actually all, like, fine, basically, as a group of people. They're somewhere on a spectrum between fine and totally lovely and cool. And Repo is not an uncomplicated team. They've got some bad times, but Repo just is always having a lovely time. even when it's not, and it's just its natural gravity is up, whereas Katapo is just kind of basically always looking for an excuse to completely fall apart. And even Chris Parker, with all that he brings, it just instantly becomes part of that slightly frayed atmosphere.
I liked when he was trying to sound them out and share a little but not share everything, and see if in return they would share things that he knew about that they didn't know that he knew. And mostly I just loved because they were like, he said something about spilling the beans and there was just like a mwah shot of just the baked beans being pushed around the plate. It's just like, it's just so fun.
It's a lot of fun.
But Eden has kind of seen this as the chance in this episode to break up Bryn and Chris and put them both up for elimination and send someone home. Extremely smart. Didn't get a lot of support.
It's a really smart idea that if she could understand that people's lack of enthusiasm for it is extremely instructive about them being smart and not them being stupid, would be even smarter still, if that makes sense.
Wow, that's the smartest thing I've ever heard. That's the smartest, dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Thank you. Basically, if you say smart enough times in a sentence, you're basically a genius.
It also kind of came out that Kim Crossman found out that there was all this stuff going on that she didn't know about. That Bryn and Chris were with Lance and Joe, and she kind of latched on to Edna. I mean, she must have been feeling quite betrayed by the Funny Girls, the Funny Girls Alliance, that she hadn't been let in on that. But it kind of started this whole chain of things, right, that just spiraled a bit into the next episode.
Honestly, the Kim Crossman thing felt like I hope this is not mean-spirited, but it felt in some ways like a metaphor for her transition to comedy in her career, without wanting to like hyperinflate it too much, where, you know, she always had more fame than the comedians, and they were always just kind of more confident in their senses of humor and senses of being comics. And they were there was always a sense that they were trying to trade with one another her fame, mainstream appeal for their ticket into the comedy sphere. And obviously there was like the super ugly Kim's New Look episode that was the sort of origin story of this whole thing. And it just felt like in this, the fact that there was this kind of group of comedians plus Lance who hadn't included her just felt like it was on some level connected to the mean girlsiness of Kim's just not quite ever being given full membership to the comedians thing. Or am I massively overthinking it?
I don't know. I think it's like really galaxy brain reference for about 10 people who were on Twitter in 2010.
That's what I'm here for.
That's what the real one's here for. I mean, what Kim did have, she did have Edna on her side, who did, you know, as soon as Edna found out about all of this, went straight up to Lance and said, "Tell me what's going on," which is really cool. Unfortunately, she wasn't quite open to all of the information that was being laid out there by Lance when he was sort of like, maybe just like wait a second before you show me the clue, like think about this, basically saying stay away from me.
Edna's style is just so stunningly direct, eh? Like she basically just goes up to someone, immediately asks the most direct thing and immediately offers, without anyone having agreed to any kind of a deal, all of her assets in return. And on some level that's like, you know, quite nice and not guileless, but it's just very like, you know, let's just play the game dead on. But if Lance had been an asshole, and on some level he's being the kind of asshole that the game wants him to be, he could have just taken that clue. Like it's, you know, there's definitely some checkers chess stuff going on here.
Totally.
But I really hope Edna stays relatively deep, because watching that interaction is just so compelling.
It's amazing. And that I wrote down that quote from her where she said, "I just feel like the game is being played under my nose and I'm not sniffing it." It's like, it's just amazing. It's like, yes.
Exactly right.
Face-off challenge. Which one was this one? The one where they had to chuck the balls and they all had nets, and Richie did that really brutal looking thing to his hamstring.
I don't think. Yeah, it's very bad what's happened to poor old Richie. I mean, yeah, the game itself was not super compelling, or it just felt like it was a smush together of a bunch of previous games. But the injury to Richie did feel like it was consequential.
I do wonder if the injury had anything to do with the fact that his singlet looked like it had been slashed by Godzilla. Did you notice this?
He's worn that singlet quite a lot, and very much, I assume it is, it definitely looks like, either that or he was on Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and got hit by a lawnmower. There's just something very strange and cinematic has happened to that shirt.
I just wonder how much of, like, the slow kind of roughing up of all their clothes is just happening, or if there's sort of, like, every 2 days someone just gets in there with, like, a little pair of nail scissors from production and just, like, scruffs it up a bit.
I think the boredom is just incredibly real. Like, every so often you get a glimpse of that, and they probably rely on that as part of, like, it generates some of the bizarre stuff that goes on. Is just, there is nothing to entertain you. So obviously you're going to start slowly chipping away at your clothes, just,
It's the only way. They won a catalogue prize, and where they got to order anything they wanted from the Breeze special mail order thing. Everyone wanted a pie. Thoughts?
Delicious.
Yeah. I feel like we didn't fully get to explore, as someone who is now in the pirate market, essentially, with this promised pirate gold on the way. I would just like to know more about what is completely, like, on offer here, because everyone just settled for pies really fast, and I was kind of curious to know what else is there. I guess pie is like a good combo of yummy carbs. Is meat
protein
useful? Protein.
But also pie travels better than some, like, depending on how far away town is, or production, like, I think you can kind of rely on a pie. Pie, even sort of lukewarm, the filling is going to stay strong. But Buck and the power pie, I thought was really neat. Like, that kind of gives an indication that this was not your average bakery, so kind of made it yummier looking.
That's true. Again, another gourmet week for Buck. Caramel Tim Tams, power pie. This power pie is absolutely brilliant, he said.
Buck does not want to leave. I honestly
he doesn't
think
want to leave.
He's going to get eliminated, and then you'll just see him sort of skulking around at the edges of the bush, just living wild, living free.
While they were eating the pies, there was that kind of Edna chased after Lance again to try and talk strategy, and Lance was doing his kind of playing dumb, playing smart, saying, I'm future thinking, I'm not even thinking, I feel like I'm doing nothing but doing everything. I feel like he's got a handle on it. But sometimes when he's saying these things in his private moments to the camera, I'm like, do you know what you're doing?
I think Lance is just foxing us all. Like, he's absolutely destroying this game in, like, the best way. Like, and the way that he, he's made kind of fairly explicit reference to conceptions of him and Joe, perhaps being because they're Pacifica people that, that they're maybe just more of a good time and not so smart, when they're easily playing the smartest game of anyone. I feel like, that it's pretty heady stuff, like, and kind of, like, interesting, like from the general, like, I don't know. It's I'm really, really enjoying watching Lance kind of play these multiple games, and especially with Edna, who he really has convinced that he is just an absolute airhead, and as a result, he can just lead her around to do whatever he wants.
It's amazing. Edna didn't get her way. It wasn't Chris and Brett up for elimination. It was the battle of, what is it? League and rugby.
League versus Union. Right? League versus Union. You gave it a crack.
And they had to do giant chopsticks stack, the classic sportsman challenge.
There was always, because it's always been with League versus Union, they do talk about, because they're quite sorry about this, it's about to become some other podcast. But, they've always been like, because they're very similar sports, they have the same origin story, 13 versus 15. There's been kind of like could the Kiwis play the All Blacks kind of thing. It comes up every few years, and like they play like a half of League and a half of Union or something like that. But it's actually brilliant that the true way to decide which sport is stronger was with giant chopsticks and some blocks. It was there the whole time. We just never, But it obviously meant everything to Buck. Like, you could sort of see on his face that once he realised that he was winning, it was like, he was going to dine out on that forever.
He's also very pleased to receive a piece of pirate gold. Thank you for that gold, he said to baptism. Yeah, I was very happy for him. I like to say, I'm glad that him and Candy are still there, and like that, some of the challenges lend themselves to, it doesn't have to be speedy, fast, or young necessarily. It's just think of sushi, Buck. Think of sushi was what someone said.
So good.
Do we need to take a break? Is this what would normally happen in the pod?
Oh, yeah. Let's take a break.
Do you think we need to take a break? We can't see eye here, so I'm going to assume we're going to take a break. See you soon. Or hear from you soon. Fuck.
No, we won't, though. They'll hear from us soon.
Kia ora koutou katoa. Te Aihe Butler here, podcast manager at The Spinoff. As we find ourselves navigating a new outbreak and lockdown, everyone here at The Spinoff remains committed to bringing you quality independent journalism, which, of course, includes our coverage of COVID-19. It's not an exaggeration to say we couldn't do this work without the generous support of our members. So, if you'd like to help us keep Aotearoa informed, please visit thespinoff.co.nz/members for more details and to donate today.
Episode 15! What do we remember from this episode, Duncan? Brindley has a sad chat with Edna. I don't remember that.
Yeah. This is around when I think they're intercutting with Chris Parker having his emotional moment, and he says this thing like, no one's waiting for Edna to be a pleasure to be around. Like, the extent to which their sort of pre-existing personas define the lift that they have to do, which was quite touching, yeah. But, sorry, no, tell me about Brindley and Edna.
Oh, no, I remember it now. It was just a sad moment where Brindley was just kind of making small talk and Edna just turned around and walked away. And Brindley just kind of spoke to herself around the campfire for a while. I just love all those little moments that actually say quite a lot about these different characters. And yeah, Kim says in her kind of private interview that she's quite envious of the way that Chris can play in a way that's sort of savage. It doesn't make it personal, but it's still keeping everyone on side. And yeah, maybe this speaks to your 2010 Twitter thesis.
Well, I mean, okay, we all know that. We all remember that. No, I guess the thing that's interesting about it at this point is they've been there 2 weeks. It's a long, long time. They're used to being either the brightest star or one of the brightest stars in any particular room. They're naturally, a lot of them, very social or even very social media type people. They're in quite a strange environment, and you can see that it's sort of starting to get to them in a way which is, making the show more compelling. This is a really specific reality TV product, and because of the celebrity element and because you're so sort of stimulation starved. Like, it's on one level, it's definitely a social experiment, which it's quite, and the deeper we get, the more you see glimpses of how that's impacting people.
I am sorry. I just absolutely blanked trying to remember why. I wrote that Chris's beard is coming in. And I was interested. I mean, how long does a beard take to come in? Does that stack up with the 2 weeks? Like, is the timeline truthful, I guess, is what I'm asking? Or is the beard fake? I'm just asking the question.
No, that's good. You're just doing your research. So beards, my understanding is that beards grow at wildly different rates.
Right.
Like, I think if I was on the show, my beard would be as sort of patchy and sort of indistinct as Chris's.
After 2 weeks.
After 2 weeks, whereas our mutual colleague Simon Day, long-time listeners will be aware of, also co-host of the Offspin podcast, give it a hoon, basically has that sort of Homer Simpson thing of can shave either his head or his beard in the morning, and by the evening has a full sort of yogi's kind of thatch down to his midriff kind of thing. So I think Chris is real, but it's not particularly impressive in the context of a show that is just stretching out. I think I buy the 2 weeks. Yeah.
You buy the 2 weeks?
I buy the 2 weeks.
It checks out. Lance got another clue and freaked out because he didn't know who Jim Hawkins was, which I didn't either. Did you?
Nope.
Okay. Because it's clearly this, I mean, we know because we get to see the little flash forwards to this long drop. This fascinating long drop full of flotsam and jetsam.
Just diving on there.
And it's really looking like there's a clue lodged in a book, right?
Yeah. That is. The thing is, all that stuff looks like kind of bad stock footage taken from some sort of 80s TV show or something. So it might just be nothing as well.
Can't wait to find out. They had a rowing team face-off, which seemed quite intense. Interesting that they have like bespoke boats.
This is what I can't understand.
Crazy.
I can't understand any of it. Like, it didn't need to be that hard. Like, who are these makers who are just building everything seemingly from scratch, conceiving of it from scratch? And then the phenomenal danger of sending them out through some quite large waves in boats that you just sort of whack together. Like, I've never seen any boat shaped like that before. So inexperienced oarsmen, high seas, brand new boats. And then, you saw them get sideways and almost get tipped out. And like, that boat, sharp edges, hits you in the noggin, you're out. Like, it's just amazing to watch. All it is just a sea of very, very fascinating questions about this production. It's I love it.
Thankfully, the most dramatic thing that happened is that there was a capsizing, but what people seem to get hung up on was the fact that Joe Diamond splashed the other team with his oar while they were ahead, and people did not like that. And when I say people, I mean Ange.
And Lana.
Oh, and Lana.
It was kind of amazing given, that you've got to think that they're showing the best shots they have of Splashgate. And yet it was like such a pitiful splash for them to be esteemed as they were. I think at this point, Katapo is just real angry that their team sucks and they constantly lose. Which I understand. Like, it does seem bad.
It must be real rough. And especially watching Red Bull have that elaborate barbecue, including the longest beetroot zoodles I have ever seen in all my livelong days. I thought zoodles were over.
They're back.
They're really back. Well, Edna was trying to have these real serious conversations with Lance, who had revealed that they want to weed out Kim and have this high-flying thing to make Chris the captain on the other team, and then all four of them will go to the final or something. All I could look at were the long, endless zoodles.
Why is zoodles such a fun word to say in here? Like, it's just one of the greats. It doesn't get enough airtime.
It doesn't get enough. Matilda Rice did a lot of work for zoodles, but those days are over. And then there was the elimination challenge. Oh, where there was a last-minute switcheroo where Lance had planned to put up Jess, which kind of like implicitly revealed to everyone that they have like a weird little alliance. But I think Lance's thing is that he's just got an alliance with everyone because everyone likes him. And he chats to everybody and they're like, yeah, sweet, I'll do it.
Yeah, it's Lance has basically got everyone on a string, and it's amazing the way he can like make a plan with his team, completely switch the plan, in a way that clearly reveals that he's playing some kind of game or is duplicitous on some level, and then because of the way that he wields this, I'm just a bit silly. I don't know why I'm doing this stuff as a weapon against them. They're just like, like the likes of Edna is like, oh man, Lance is real useless. Like, maybe Well, maybe he just took out the one person in your alliance, and you still don't think that he's gaming it.
True. At the last minute, so Jess I think she said something where she had a sore stomach, and when it became evident that the challenge was something kind of core and balance-based, she did a little shake to Lance and nodded at Anna Simsick, who went up against Kim, and, it's tough. She's an Olympic athlete.
She looks like she could do that for the rest of her life if need be.
Yeah. So unfortunately, Kim went home. And then Jess sort of revealed that she'd given the nod, which was not well received by her teammates. I mean, the whole end of this was amazing, because that was like, wow, the bad vibes in Katapo are not going to be improved by that, especially because Jess has been this kind of big smiling angel the whole way through, and just to reveal that kind of will set everyone on edge. And then you have like the throw ahead to next week, Chris Parker, body cam, so good.
sneaking off to rat out his his teammate, or his alliance mate, and the big throw forward to Chizzo, kind of calling him out. No hoorah there. Jesus, it's so exciting.
I love the way it played out, where Chris revealed to the team that Lance wants to meet him on top of the hill, and then you see them, but he's like, but I don't want to do anything not on camera. And it's sort of like, you're like, oh, behind the curtain straight away. And then you see them all look to the crew and go, can we take a GoPro? And it was just like, yes, I love seeing that. I love showing the working. But also, what a pro, Chris. He instantly knows it's like, don't do it if it's not on tape.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
So good. So we'll be looking forward to all of that drama unfolding next week. Any other final thoughts? We did it.
We did it. That was a podcast, I think.
That was something.
Can't argue with that.
Haven't heard from Ahe, haven't seen him, but assume it's all fine. Thank you, everyone, for listening to whatever this was. Subscribe. Tell your flatties.
If Facebook ever comes back up, facebook.com/groups/the real pod.
And we've got badges. Pins, no less. Enamel pins.
To be honest, I would have expected a greater sell-through for those pins. I think we've sold sort of 50 or 60 of them, but I want to crack 100. So if you really want to show your loyalty to the greatest damn New Zealand reality TV podcast of over 5 years gestation that there ever was, get one. Go to the Spin-Off shop.
Spend your pirate gold wisely. Hooroo!
Kia ora, I'm Alex Casey, Senior Writer at The Spin-Off. We wouldn't exist without the ongoing support of our generous members. If you're able to, you can make a donation at thespinoff.co.nz/donate.
Kia ora e te iwi, Te Aihe Butler here, Podcast Manager at The Spin-Off. If you enjoy listening to our podcasts, consider supporting our mahi by signing up to become a Spin-Off member at thespinoff.co.nz/donate. The Spin-Off Podcast Network.